Oh God. Oh hey, didn't see you there. I am really, really tired right now, but I just can't go to sleep because I'm a gamer! And I just have to keep playing video games. I mean, it's not like there's any video game or video game related things that could help me with sleep. Right?
Video games and sleep. Name a less iconic duo.
Oh hey, I've got one. Sex and me.
Video games are a very time-consuming hobby, with any given game taking you anywhere from 2 to 100 hours to beat. And with a lot of games being very action-packed, most people tend not to play video games super close to when they have to go to sleep. But there are some people who play video games to relax and unwind after a long day, and they don't try to critique every little thing about a game. Yeah, could you imagine being one of those people? Stuff like A Little Left, Unpacking, and most of all Animal Crossing are very cozy and great games to help you de-stress after a long day of whatever. Animal Crossing especially, you're always supposed to come back the next day because there's only so many things you can get done in one day. It creates a nice routine to play like an hour every day. But most games aren't like this. With every Animal Crossing game, there's like 4.6 Call of Duties. And what better way to show that your crotch is huge than by playing COD for way long into the night, guzzling down a Monster Energy or two. Seriously, name a more iconic duo.
Ooh, I got it. Pokemon and Velocity.
See, video games have always had a stigma around them of being unhealthy, either by staring at a screen for too long and hurting your eyes, sitting in one place for too long, or not getting enough sunlight. The list goes on and on. Now there have always been health-oriented games out there, with things such as the Pokewalker being bundled in with Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Beat Saber making you fling your arms around to music. Hell, there's probably been thousands of pounds shed just via Wii Sports alone. But then Pokemon Go came out and you didn't need anything else. Millions of people were going out to catch their favorite Pokemon. But I wasn't one of them. I didn't have a phone at the time, and even if I did, I lived in a very small town, so I wouldn't have really been able to catch much anyways. Also, my mom would always tell me stories of people walking into traffic or like fountains or something when they were playing, which I just have to ask, how do you win then? But flawed logic aside, I find it really cool how they started off with like 100-ish Pokemon and have been updating the game throughout the years to contain almost all of them. After all of that, the Pokemon Company sees how many people are getting out of the house and walking around due to Pokemon Go. So what do they decide to make next?
One of the only smartphone games I still play today.
Pokemon Sleep is a smartphone game that tracks how well you sleep, but instead of now you only suffering because you got 2 hours of sleep, it's now you and your digital pets. This is a very different Pokemon game, even compared to like the spin-offs and stuff. You have to feed this Snorlax over the course of a week by having your Pokemon collect berries and ingredients. They collect these throughout the day, but only have so much energy, and when they run out of energy, they will be slower at gathering stuff. With the ingredients, you can make a meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to give to Snorlax for a bunch of XP. Different Pokemon types gather different berries and ingredients, so it's a good idea to have a varied lineup of Pokemon because different recipes call for different ingredients. Your goal is to make Snorlax as fat as possible. The more you do, the more drowsy power will increase, and the more Pokemon will show up at your camp in the morning. When you're ready to go to bed, you have to tap the button in the bottom right and leave the app open while you sleep. It does darken the screen though, so don't worry, Squirtle isn't going to be burnt into your home screen. And that's basically it, but I think this app works so well for waking me and so many others up in the morning because it gives you something to do right as you wake up. I don't immediately turn off my alarm, roll over, and go back to bed. Now it's more like,
Oh God, are any of these shiny?
Pokemon Sleep, in my opinion, is fine. It might have a lot of microtransactions, but they aren't super in your face about it. I will say the price of the gems make no sense. Oh yeah, $119 for 60 gems. Or I could just get the same amount of gems by doing 2 quests or getting 3 achievements. Also, there's roughly 132 different Pokemon in Pokemon Sleep, each having roughly 3 or 4 different sleep styles. Still though, I wish there were more Pokemon.
Oh, and I would show you my sleep styles, but I don't want to dox myself.
So let's move on to our next game, Melatonin. Surely this game will help me fall asleep and not just be rhythm heaven, right? It's just Rhythm Heaven.
God, every single time I play an indie game that has the same name as a dietary supplement, it's always just Rhythm Heaven!
Now, I know a lot of people like to listen to video game music to help them fall asleep. Zelda, Animal Crossing, Persona, so many of these games have such calming melodies just begging to be worked into your REM cycle.
If you haven't fallen asleep to Sweden by C418, you don't deserve human rights!
So how about a rhythm game with an entire soundtrack of lo-fi hip-hop? Surely that would help some people fall asleep.
No.
See, Melatonin is a fine rhythm game, honestly, but not a good sleepy time game. The game is more so about going through this guy's dreams and playing Rhythm Heaven minigames. By the way, as somebody that does YouTube, the phone hop game is what I dream of every night. I kind of wish they did a little bit more with the fact that these are, dreams. But as it stands, this is a great little 3-hour game, but not one that's going to make you fall asleep with how much you have to be paying attention to everything to get those perfects.
And also, what the hell's up with purple games and being really good but only being like 2 hours long?
Now, what if you want to start thinking about video games as soon as you wake up?
Then just play Pokemon Sleep.
Well, here we have the Powdon PS5 alarm clock because why the hell not? Well, this is definitely the cheapest alarm clock I've ever held. Let's move over to this side of the room.
Yeah, my bathtub's in the shop right now, so this is the best I could do. Oh, and be careful. She's a rental.
The joysticks don't work, the triggers don't move, and only 2 of the face buttons actually do things. You can't even control the alarm volume. And to make things worse, I have to wake up and be reminded of the PS5 now.
God, I dreamt the PS5 had no games. Aww.
You know what would be really cool? If you could actually plug this in and use it as a real controller, but no, why would you do that? That's a stupid concept anyways.
But as far as I can tell, this actually did have Sony's blessing, but that's all it really ever had. If you want an alarm clock that was made by one of the big 3 themselves, then I am sorry for you.
Alarmo. Honestly, the best name they could have gone with. Wake up in Nintendo Worlds.
Mario, damn it.
This is an alarm clock that plays Nintendo music to wake you up, and honestly, I could think of worse things for a Nintendo alarm clock to do. When your alarm goes off, you have to fend off enemies by moving around a bunch in bed. If you don't, the alarm sounds will get louder. Once you fend off the enemies, there will be a little jingle, but the enemies won't stop showing up until you actually get out of bed. This is probably the best feature of Alarmo. And also, you can't get back into bed for an hour after the alarm has gone off, otherwise it will start up again. Now, a problem with this is you can't really use this feature if there are 2 people in the bed, but that shouldn't be an issue because you bought an Alarmo.
Oh shit, a V card!
There are 5 themes to choose from: Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 3, Pikmin 4, and Ring Fit Adventure, with more on the way via free updates. Yep, this connects to the internet and also needed a day 1 patch. We are officially living in a dystopia. But honestly, it's a neat little collectible thing, is what I would say if it didn't cost $100. Yeah, you could half the price and maybe it'd be worth the money, but there are a lot of things that just make Alarmo feel rather lacking. Which is an insane sentence to say about a fucking alarm clock. Like, why isn't there a calendar or a way for alarms to automatically go off on specific days? Why is there so little options when it comes to the themes? Why is the screen round but the display rectangular? Why doesn't it come with a charging brick? Oh god, I paid $100 for this. And most of all, why isn't it compatible with Amiibo? You have this big ass button right here. Why not be able to scan Amiibo to unlock certain themes or music or tracks or something? This button is begging to be used. Alarmo definitely feels underbaked in a lot of places. Some people think it was rushed out because Nintendo really needed to put something out on their store shelves for holiday 2024. Honey, they're doing just fine. I feel like this is more so rushed out just to get it out there before the announcement of the Switch 2 or whatever it's going to be called.
Because let's face it, the Nintendo Switch is running off of 7-year-old hardware at this point, and while everyone else is eagerly anticipating the announcement of your next-gen video game console, why wouldn't you release a fucking clock?
Anyway, after a while, I'm sure Alarmo will be a lot better than it is now. And hey, at the very least, it's a pretty quality alarm clock, all things considered.
Oh, it better, since this thing cost me $100!
All this is to say, video games and sleep don't really mix well together. There's some neat little experiences that pop up here and there, but ultimately, I don't really think this is going to become like a genre.
Video games will always be breaking new ground as long as there's new ground to be broken. And honestly, that's really special and not really a thing other media can do. I mean, have you tried watching a movie in your sleep? So yeah, I guess you could say that video games and breaking new ground are kind of an iconic duo, much like me and caring too much about Alarmo.